Hi everybody, my name is Jan Dufour and I'm an independent Stampin' Up! Demonstrator. Today we're going to use the set called Silly Goose. It has some silly sayings. A silly goose told me it's your birthday. Goosebumps. Sending a gaggle of good wishes. It is in the mini catalog, so it's available until the end of April. I'm also using the Diorama Dies to simulate a pond of water, and these are in the annual catalog, and that is good until the end of April. So basically what I've pre-cut the paper so we don't have to watch me use that. The most inside color is out of our Brights 6x6 designer series paper, and this is cut at 3.5 by 4 3/4. Then there's a white base out of Basic White that is a 3 3/4 by 5. I'll have all the measurements in my blog, so if you're watching me on YouTube, there'll be a link to my blog so you can get all of the directions. Then the Pacific Point is 4 by 5 1/4. And then the card size is the standard 4 1/4 by 5 1/2, which is an A2 card. And so we just basically glue these all together. I'm going to do that quickly and then stick it under the large, I'm going to move this to the side, under the large die that the large stamp base, which I only ever use for holding down papers to dry. It's too big for me with my hands and my arthritis. It's good upside down. Well, I know a lot of people use it that way. And it's heavy. So like I said, I use it to put things together and let it sit. And I had blue ink on my fingers, so I'm going to show you how, when you have a oopsie, how you can fix that. I have to let it dry first, though. So I'm putting all 4 of these layers together, and make sure the card's opening in the correct direction, because I've done that before. All right, so we have that essentially all set. I'm going to put it aside. This is the big stamp. It's kind of awkward, so I'm just going to let it sit there and get all set up. All right, now to speed things up, I stamped A Silly Goose Told Me It's Your Birthday. This is a 1/2 inch by 2 1/4. And then I cut some Pacific Point paper that is 3/4 inch by 3 1/4. I want to have one side pointy. So I'm going to show you how to do that. Yes, I did make a mistake and I'm reusing the paper. That's why paper has 2 sides. So I'm putting this in the slot. This is not exactly always the size that they have. It's 1/2 inch, 3/4 inch, and 1 inch, but you can still use it. I actually direct it to make sure that it's straight by pushing it up against it, but then I might tweak it a little bit, especially if it's not the exact size of the way it's supposed to be. Oh, well, there you go. I had it in upside down. I left this, I was going to do the other end of the flag, but I kind of liked the way it interrupted that line of blue. I thought that looked good. So we're going to leave it like that. And then we do want to do the same thing with this one. Now this one does fit in. You still should check, because when you slide it in, if you notice, it's not exactly centered. There's some looseness available. You do need to keep it pressed against the edge up here, and then do that and get rid of that little piece. We'll set this aside. Every time I look at this, it's like, oops, that's wrong. Yes, it is. That's why I stamped again. Now I'm just going to put this where I want it. This is how I accidentally decided I liked it straight. I was going to cut a flag in the other side, but then I decided I wasn't going to. Take our snips. I could cut it on the cutter, but I'm confident enough to do that. If you're not, you can always use your paper trimmer. All right, so we'll set that aside. I will move this out of the way. There we go, so you can see that. Now, these are the two dioramas. I used the third biggest for, it doesn't work if you don't have it in the right direction. The third biggest, the third smallest to do the white, and then the next size up to do the blue. And like I said, to save time, I've already got those done up. But we need to color these. And my favorite go-to is always blends. I love the alcohol markers. I like the ability to do different things with them. As you can see, I tested some colors out here. I'm just going to quickly color. If you listen to artists and stuff, take their advice, because I am not an artist. One of the things I like about alcohol markers is that I don't have to color pretty. It'll all just soak in and blend. I'll give it a second to dry, and I can use the same color and actually make it darker on the shadow side. It looks kind of harsh here, but that is also going to just blend in. So we'll leave that, and that's all I do. I don't get real fancy. We'll do the beak, and I'm not even doing any fancy stuff on the beak. I'm just doing one pass. This is supposed to represent a straw hat. I'm not sure how strawy it looks because it's a smooth hat, but we're going with it. And I thought there is not a Pacific Point marker, but these markers have colorways, so it blends in or it complements the color. So this one is Balmy Blue, and it's the dark version. When you buy blends, they come with two colors, a light and a dark. And of course they have two ends. The other end is a brush for larger areas. This is a little bit too small. I guess I did this too small for the larger one. Then we're going to do some green. And you can see I'm really, well, maybe we'll be doing green, yes. I'm really not doing any shading. This is about the easiest form of coloring you can have. And I'm just going to color this in. I didn't want to use too many colors because I did have quite a few layers, which is maybe one layer more than I normally do. But I like the contrast of the blue and the white, but then this was too much white space, so I had to put another color in there. I'll finish this up. And I don't know if you can hear, but my husband just turned on the TV. Just a moment. That was me closing the door. I usually have the door closed when I know I'm filming, but I forgot to do that. We're going to use the orange for spots. And let me see if I can show you just a little bit. You can use the same color, or you can use, like this is Old Olive Light. And here's Old Olive Dark. If I wanted to shade, I could do it with either one. Now this is quite a contrast, right? And, whoops, and that's okay. First of all, the alcohol, this one's really tight so it doesn't get, oop. So I'm going to use the light to come back in here and blend some of that darker out. Now again, It doesn't seem to blend right away, but as the alcohol color spreads into the rest of the card, it gets more blendy, if that's a word. I am not a color expert, but it does look kind of cool. And if I wanted to do it with the yellow, also, you can do it with the same color. I did it a little bit darker here. I can use it's already a little bit, but I can use the darker color. And again, just color a little bit along the edge, and then come back with the lighter color and blend that in. And again, give it time. Don't get excited about the very first thing if it's like, oh, that's not right. Just let it sit a minute, because the alcohol does bleed. You should always have something behind it. I knew I had this behind it, because it does actually, in fact, bleed. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and put this on the larger diorama. I forget about these diorama. I'm kind of casing, not the whole card, but using the diorama for the pond, if you will, from a fellow demonstrator, Jackie Beers. So I appreciate that. We'll actually want to get the leaves in here too. There. I think we've got it. All right, now I wanted to elevate that a little bit, and it's a fairly large area, so I used a fair number of dots. I have no idea how many I ended up with. We shall just see how many we have. Oh yeah, that'll be good. All right, so I'm going to take, by now, all of this is completed. And as I said, down here, there is a little ink stain from my fingers. There's a couple of erasers that I have to have always. There's the white plastic eraser. This one's by Staedtler. This will erase any graphite pencil type marks very, very cleanly, and other marks too, but primarily graphite. This one is called a it's a Tombow Mono Sander Eraser, and it is in fact gritty, I guess is the right word. And it will take off ink marks, actually. I don't know how well it'll do it on this, because this is a wet smeared mark, but we're going to try. Oh yeah, it's doing good. Do a little bit at a time. Let me see, that's the edge of the paper I'm running up against. And then I might even try some of this. Get the last of the oogies out. And then, as you can see, there's no more blue paint or blue ink. So love these two erasers, use them all the time. There's also another thing, Stampin' Up doesn't sell them anymore. This comes, imagine this 4, because I cut it in 4, because I like to use the edges. This is a glue remover eraser, and I use that a lot too. And this also had probably some remnants of glue on it too. So between the 3 of them, it looks really good. All right, so we have that down. Now, I did, like I said, stamp these ahead of time, but then I showed you how to add them. We'll take these off. I've got a lot of them on there, and these will show up somewhere in my house, not in my craft room. My craft room really needs a good sweeping anyway. I really should do that. But anyway, so I'm putting it slightly off to the side. I want to keep this in bounds, if you will. The next thing is I want to put this over here, but it's at 2 different levels. And rather than bend it and glue it like that, I am going to put 2 of these on the end. of the edge. Take that off. Add a little bit of glue here. Then lay this, and I want to make this even on the edge, and then slap that down. And because this is elevated, it's supporting this end of it, and then this end we put some dimensionals on, so that elevated it. The next thing was I did do this as a separate, because I wasn't using my Stamparatus, which if you know me, I use it all the time, particularly with words, just to make sure that they're straight. But I thought it'd be cool and not do it this time. And sure enough, I stamped on the inside of this and it didn't stamp correctly. So I went ahead and covered it up with another one done by itself. And then it doesn't show. This silly goose forgot. So I'm going to let that dry. It's a good way to cover up your mistakes. You could always stamp another goose or another flower or something and put that on top. But this worked out just fine. And then because I do keep mine in covered envelopes, because I give them away as gifts, and when people are pawing through them and pulling them out and stuff, this protects them from getting nasty. I give them away to relatives and friends, and I give them away to a nursing home, and so I keep them in these envelopes. When you buy them in bulk, I think I bought 1,000 and it was $34. That'll last me a couple years. But anyway, I stamp what is on the inside on the piece, so that when people open this up, let's see, this is the front, or not open it up, when they are looking at it, they will know it says this on the outside, but it says this on the inside. And I have 2 free Word documents that have these cut. I have them in multiple sizes. I have them all out, you know, in order, and you can cut them out however you like. But that way you can put what's on the inside. If you do tend to want to give them away to somebody, it works out pretty good. And I will have those linked both on the YouTube channel and on my blog. I hope you enjoyed this today. If you need any supplies, you can go to my store, which is jandufor.stampinup.net. If you need to ask me a question, you can either put a comment down below the YouTube or my blog, or you can email me directly at jandufor@yahoo.com. And my website that I talked about, if you're on YouTube, is stampmesilly.com. So I hope you enjoyed it. Please leave me a comment. Let me know what you think. Any suggestions on what you'd like to see, I would really appreciate it. Hope you have an absolutely fantastic week. Thanks. Bye.